Joining me now from Malta, Montana, President of the National Border Patrol Council, Brandon Judd. Brandon, you heard the Department of Homeland Security Secretary today. She likened the situation to a meltdown. I liken it to a movie that we've seen before. You've seen this thing unfold, and you can't do anything to change the horrible plot.
No, and that's what's unfortunate for the American public is what we're looking at is something that we've dealt with before. The problem is Congress refuses to deal with the issue. This is not rocket science. This is actually real simple. What we saw in April of 2017, we saw illegal immigration drop to 45-year lows, and that was based upon the promise that they would be held in custody pending their asylum or deportation proceedings. Because Congress failed to act, now we have an absolute catastrophe on our hands, if you will.
Right. And Brandon, I don't know if Rodney Scott, the chief of the Border Patrol sector in San Diego, told you, but we went down to the border. We did an entire episode of the Daily Ledger down at the border. And one of the things that we took away from that is the wonderful double-layer fencing in that sector. Not all of it, but certainly the area between San Diego and Tijuana, most of it is double layered. You have a nice area where the Border Patrol can drive vehicles and apprehend people if they can get through. But this new fencing that's being put in has really made this sector, the San Diego sector, the most secure in the United States. This is what border security looks like, right?
It is. If you look back in the mid-90s to early 2000s, San Diego and El Paso, Texas, they were ground zero for illegal immigration. Once we built those barriers, and we built good barriers, not just as landing mat barriers, but once we built those double fences, those good barriers, illegal immigration in those two corridors dropped exponentially to where we could actually gain operational control. And so if we were able to continue to build those barriers across the border, we would in fact be able to keep these people physically from entering the country. If they can't physically enter the country, then they have to do things legally, and that's what we want to see.
All right, let's talk some numbers. The numbers that we're hearing now, they're astronomical numbers compared to a couple years ago. 60 to 100,000. I'm hearing 100,000 possibly engagements, apprehensions from the Border Patrol every month. Now, we know that the total universe of border agents is somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000, correct?
Yeah, it's actually in the neighborhood of 19.5, but pretty close.
All right.
Yes.
But not all those agents are on duty at one time. At any given time, there's probably, what, about a quarter of those agents?
No, if we're lucky, we have a quarter on the border, because you got to remember, we have a lot of operations. We got a lot of people up in Washington, D.C., almost 1,000 up in Washington, D.C. Then you have a lot of people that are detailed out to different task forces. So if we're lucky at one period of time, we're lucky if we have maybe an eighth of our force on the actual border.
All right. So you're talking, maybe in the neighborhood of 3,000 agents down along the border. And we're talking numbers in the neighborhood of 100,000 per month and swelling, right? As the weather gets warmer, there's going to be necessarily more activity. There was a rainy period along certain areas of our southern border. Now it appears that's over with and the weather is getting warmer. You suspect these numbers are going to increase even more?
We know they are. The intelligence is telling us that these numbers are going to go up. And just to put it in perspective for your viewers and listeners, the numbers that we're looking at the height of illegal immigration, that was in the early 2000s to mid 2000s. We were arresting over 1 million. We were making over 1 million arrests per year. But that wasn't 1 million people that we were dealing with. We were arresting the same people over and over and over again. So in reality, what you were looking at is we were dealing with 1 million arrests. We were actually dealing with about 500,000, 450,000 people. Right now, we're on pace to deal with 900,000 people. That's what we're on pace for. So these numbers are unprecedented, like you said earlier. The numbers just continue to go up, and we are at a problem that we've never seen before on the border.
What's also unprecedented is these so-called family units and these people from Central America who are trying to claim asylum and become refugees in this country. And there's a process for that. And this is also part of the problem for border agents who are trying to stop what I call garden variety illegal immigrants, or possibly MS-13 gang members trying to infiltrate into our country, or possibly terrorists.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.